Do you ever pause and ask yourself, am I truly at peace with who I have become? As the years pass, many of us begin to wrestle with doubt. We notice the changes in our bodies, the slowing of our pace, and the echoes of choices we cannot undo. Sometimes we even wonder, is it still possible to love myself now, in the later chapters of life? The Buddha's teachings whisper a gentle truth. Self-love is not bound to youth, beauty, or accomplishment. It is not something that fades with age. It is something that ripens, deepens, and becomes more luminous when nurtured with wisdom and compassion. In this video, we will explore the Buddha's path to self-love in the later years. Step by step, we will uncover how Buddhist teachings can help you release old regrets, soften self-criticism, embrace impermanence, and rediscover the joy of simply being alive. By the end of this journey, you will not only understand how to love yourself more deeply, you will also see that aging is not a decline, but a sacred invitation to awaken. A time to discover that you are, and always have been, worthy of love. 1. The mirror of impermanence. The Buddha's very first teaching was the reality of impermanence. All things arise, all things change, and all things eventually pass away. To deny this truth is to suffer. To embrace it is to find freedom. When we are young, impermanence feels far away. But as years pass, the truth becomes undeniable. Wrinkles appear, strength wanes, loved ones leave, and time reminds us of life's fragile nature. Many resist this change, clinging desperately to youth or fearing what comes next. But resistance only deepens suffering. The path of the Buddha invites us to look at impermanence differently, not as an enemy, but as a mirror that reveals the preciousness of this very moment. Because life is fleeting, it is infinitely valuable. Because we will not always have this body, we can learn to treat it with gentleness instead of judgment. To love yourself in old age is to bow gracefully to impermanence. Instead of saying, I am less than I was, you can say, I am part of life's great unfolding. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, every slowing step is not a sign of failure. It is a reminder that you are alive in this moment. When you stop fighting impermanence and start flowing with it, self-love becomes natural. It is no longer about holding on to what was, but about awakening to the gift of what is. 2. The weight of regret. As the years accumulate, so do memories, some filled with joy, others with pain. Many people in later life find themselves weighed down by regret. Words left unsaid, mistakes made, opportunities missed. These regrets can quietly whisper, you have failed. You are unworthy. But Buddhism offers another way of seeing. The Buddha did not teach perfection, he taught awakening. Every moment, even the painful ones, can become fuel for compassion and wisdom. Consider this. If you look at your past only through the eyes of judgment, you see scars. But if you look through the eyes of compassion, those same scars become teachers. The heartbreak that once shattered you may have softened your heart. The mistakes that once embarrassed you may have taught you humility. The failures that once stung may have prepared you to guide others with gentleness. Self-love in later years requires this shift, from judgment to compassion, from regret to wisdom. When regret arises, place your hand on your heart and ask, what has this taught me? How has this shaped my compassion? In this way, regret is no longer a weight, but a doorway. The Buddha's path shows us that the past cannot bind us if we meet it with awareness. Each breath is a new beginning. Each day is an opportunity to love ourselves anew. 3. The gift of self-compassion. Among all the teachings of the Buddha, perhaps none is more vital for self-love than compassion. Yet many of us find it easier to extend compassion to others than to ourselves. We forgive a friend's mistakes, we comfort a loved one in pain, but when it comes to our own wounds, we often turn inward with harshness. In old age, this habit can become especially sharp. We may look back and say, "I should have done more. I should have been better. I am not enough." These thoughts create a prison of self-criticism, but the Buddha reminds us that compassion must include ourselves. Why? Because we too are beings on the path. We too experience suffering. To deny ourselves compassion is to deny the truth of our own humanity. Imagine speaking to yourself the way you would speak to a beloved friend. If that friend came to you with tears, saying, "I have failed, I am not worthy," would you scold them? Or would you hold their hand and whisper, "You have endured so much. You are still here. You are worthy of love"? This is the practice of self-compassion. It is not self-indulgence. It is not making excuses. It is simply recognizing your own suffering and responding with kindness instead of cruelty. Practical ways to cultivate self-compassion include gentle speech. Replace harsh inner dialogue with words of tenderness. Instead of saying, "I am too old," say, "I am seasoned with wisdom." Hand on the heart. When regret or pain arises, place your hand gently on your heart and breathe. This physical gesture softens the body and signals safety to the mind. Compassion meditation. Sit quietly and repeat, "May I be peaceful. May I be kind to myself. May I be free from suffering." Then extend this same wish outward. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free from suffering. Over time, these practices rewire the heart. The harsh voice of judgment softens, replaced by the gentle voice of compassion. And in that gentleness, self-love takes root. Remember, compassion is not about fixing yourself. It is about embracing yourself as you are, wrinkles, regrets, and all. When you practice self-compassion, you discover that aging is not a punishment, but an invitation to love yourself more deeply than ever before. 4. Silence and solitude as friends. For many people, growing older brings a quieting of life. Children leave home, careers wind down, friends and loved ones may pass away. Days that were once full of noise, conversation, and activity begin to stretch out into long hours of silence. For some, this shift feels heavy, even frightening. Loneliness can arise like an unwelcome guest. But in the light of the Buddha's teachings, silence and solitude are not enemies. They are teachers. They are friends waiting to reveal their gifts. The Buddha himself sought solitude. He often withdrew into forests, mountains, and quiet groves to meditate. In that stillness, he awakened to truths that cannot be seen in the noise of constant activity. When life becomes quieter in old age, it is not necessarily a loss. It can be a sacred return to this very same stillness. Solitude gives us space to listen. In the noise of daily life, we are constantly pulled outward, toward tasks, relationships, responsibilities. But when the world grows quieter, the inner voice becomes audible. You begin to hear the subtle stirrings of your own heart, longings, sorrows, joys, gratitude. This listening is the seed of self-love. To know yourself deeply is to love yourself fully. Yet many people resist solitude because they confuse it with loneliness. Loneliness says, "I am empty because others are not here." Solitude says, "I am whole, and in this wholeness, I can rest." The difference lies in perspective. Loneliness focuses on what is missing. Solitude reveals what is already present. One way to make this shift is through mindfulness practice. Sit quietly, perhaps in your room or garden, and simply observe the rise and fall of your breath, the sounds of birds outside, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. Notice how, even in silence, life is speaking to you. The earth, the sky, the body. Everything is alive. Everything is connected. When you see this, solitude becomes less an absence and more a presence. Another way is to engage in simple rituals that honor your solitude. Light a candle before meditation. Brew a cup of tea and drink it slowly, with full attention. Read a sutra or a poem aloud to yourself. These small acts transform emptiness into sacredness. They remind you that solitude is not a void, but a vessel, a space where your soul can breathe. The Buddha taught that a calm mind is like clear water. When the surface is still, you can see deeply into it. Silence and solitude offer this stillness. They allow you to see your own mind clearly, the joys and fears, the regrets and hopes. Sometimes what you see may be uncomfortable. Old memories may rise, unhealed wounds may appear, but this is part of the gift. In solitude, nothing is hidden. And in seeing clearly, you gain the chance to soften, to forgive, to release. Instead of filling every quiet moment with distraction, television, noise, endless tasks, try sitting with the silence. At first, it may feel unsettling, like an empty room, but gradually you will notice a gentle presence in the stillness. A spaciousness that holds you with tenderness. That presence is your own awakened heart. To love yourself in the later years is to make peace with silence. To see solitude not as isolation, but as intimacy, the deepest intimacy with life itself. For in silence, you realize you are never truly alone. You are breathing with the trees, resting with the mountains, flowing with the rivers. The whole universe sits with you. In this way, silence and solitude become friends. They do not take away your joy, they deepen it. They do not close you off from others, they open you to the vastness of being. And in their embrace, self-love begins to flower in a way it never could in the constant noise of youth. 5. Interconnection and belonging. As we journey through the later stages of life, one of the deepest challenges many people face is a sense of separation. Friends may pass away, families may live far apart. The world may feel younger and faster, as though it has moved ahead without you. In such moments, it is easy to feel isolated, as if your life has become small, unimportant, or even invisible. But Buddhism offers a profound and liberating teaching. No self exists in isolation. Every being, every breath, every moment is woven into a vast web of interconnection. When we see this clearly, loneliness softens into belonging, and self-love becomes the natural expression of understanding our place in the whole. Think of your breath. Each inhalation you take is a gift from the trees who transform sunlight into oxygen. Without their silent labor, you could not live. Each exhalation you release is taken in by the plants, nourishing their life. Already, in this simple act of breathing, you are in intimate relationship with the world around you. Or think of the food you eat. A bowl of rice is not just rice. It is the rain that watered the fields, the soil that nourished the seed, the sun that ripened the grain, the farmer's patient work, the hands that harvested, transported, and cooked it. To eat mindfully is to see that you are never alone. You are supported by countless lives. The Buddha called this truth dependent origination, that all phenomena arise in dependence upon countless conditions. Nothing exists by itself. A flower blooms only because of rain, soil, sunshine, bees, and countless hidden causes. In the same way, your life is not a solitary, separate event. It is the blooming of countless conditions across time and space. When you begin to reflect on this, self-love takes on a different meaning. It is not about inflating the ego or convincing yourself that you are special in isolation. It is about recognizing that your very existence is already sacred, because it is inseparably tied to all of life. If you smile at a stranger in the marketplace, you may lift their heart for the day. If you show patience with a child, that gentleness may ripple forward into how they treat others. Even your quiet presence, sitting calmly, offering a kind word, becomes nourishment in the great web of being. You may never know the full impact of your actions, but they flow outward like circles in water, touching lives you will never see. This truth is especially powerful in old age. Many people fear that when their work ends, when their children are grown, when their physical abilities lessen, their contribution is over. But in the light of interconnection, you see that every breath, every word, every act of kindness continues to matter. Simply being here, alive, breathing, is already participation in the great dance of existence. To deepen this awareness, you can practice what Buddhists call interbeing meditation. Sit quietly and reflect. With this breath, I breathe in the gift of the trees. With this body, I carry the love of my parents, my ancestors, my teachers. With this mind, I carry the wisdom of all who came before me. With this smile, I give peace to the world. As you sit in this contemplation, notice how the boundaries of self and other begin to soften. You are not just you. You are also the rain, the earth, the sun, the farmer, the teacher, the parent, the friend. Your life is an expression of countless lives. You are not alone. You are a gathering of the universe itself. When you embrace this view, aging begins to feel less like a narrowing and more like a widening. You see that your story is part of a vast, timeless story. Your hands may be wrinkled, but those hands have carried forward the touch of generations. Your voice may be softer, but in its tone live the echoes of ancestors and teachers. Your body may be slower, but it moves in rhythm with the earth, that has always carried you. Self-love in this light becomes not a private affair, but an offering. When you care for yourself, with patience, with gentleness, with compassion, you strengthen the whole web of life. By tending your own heart, you radiate peace outward. This is why the Buddha taught loving-kindness meditation not only for oneself, but also for all beings. To love yourself and to love others are not separate acts. They are two expressions of the same truth of interconnection. So, if you ever feel small, unimportant, or forgotten in the later years, return to this teaching. Place your hand on your heart and say, "This life is not separate. My being belongs to the whole. Every breath I take is part of the great harmony." Let that truth sink deep like sunlight into soil. In the stillness of solitude, in the web of interconnection, you will discover a profound belonging. And in that belonging, self-love arises naturally, not as ego, but as reverence for the miracle of being alive. 6. Ripening into wisdom. As the seasons of life pass, something subtle and steady often begins to happen. A deepening that is not merely the accumulation of years, but a kind of inner maturation. In Buddhism, this is called ripening, an opening where experience, reflection, and suffering transform into practical wisdom. This ripening is not sudden. It is like fruit slowly sweetening on the branch, warmed by sun and rain, shaped by storms and calm alike. Wisdom in the later years is not intellectual cleverness. It is lived insight, knowing how to meet sorrow without collapsing, how to receive joy without clinging, how to be present without needing to perform. It is seeing clearly the causes of suffering and responding with gentle, steady compassion. Where youth may rush to fix problems or prove worth, ripened wisdom learns to listen, to wait, and to act with care. How does this ripening occur? First, through attention. A life that has paid attention, noticed small kindnesses, tended relationships, learned from mistakes, has gathered the raw material of wisdom. Attention is the simple practice of being present, observing one's mind, feeling one's body, and allowing experience to teach. Over decades, this practice collects like rain in a well. The well becomes deep, and from it flows a steadier, clearer response to life. Second, ripening requires honest reflection. This is not harsh rumination, but mindful seeing. Look back upon choices, not to punish, but to understand. Why did I act so? What grew from that choice? What did it teach me about fear, longing, or love? When reflection is paired with compassion, the past becomes a schoolroom rather than a prison. The lessons you harvest become your guidance. Third, ripening is practiced in small actions. Wisdom is rehearsed in everyday moments, offering patience to a confused neighbor, listening fully to a child's story, forgiving a memory that still stings. These small acts train the heart. They are the repeated, ordinary practices that refine our responses until kindness and equanimity become habitual. There is also a quiet humility in ripened wisdom. With time, we see how much we do not know. Experience teaches that certainty often dissolves. Humility does not diminish value, it frees it. When you no longer need to be right, you can be present. When you no longer need applause, you can be useful. This humility opens the heart to genuine connection. Practical ways to encourage ripening in your own life include a daily practice of mindful reflection, 10 minutes of gentle silence where you review the day with curiosity rather than blame, a habit of gratitude, naming 3 small things each morning that support you, and a practice of compassionate action, intentionally offering 1 small kindness each day. Another practice is teaching. Share a story, a lesson, a listening ear. Wisdom is strengthened when it is given away. There is a final and tender truth. Ripening into wisdom often reorders priorities. Ambitions that once seemed crucial may soften. The urgency of more calms into the contentment of presence. We find joy in simple things, a shared cup of tea, the sound of rain, a letter remembered. This is not resignation, it is deepening appreciation. As you practice, remember to be patient with yourself. Ripening cannot be hurried. It grows from patient attention, kind reflection, humble action, and steady presence. Place your hand over your heart now and breathe slowly 3 times. In each breath, offer a quiet promise to listen, to learn, to be kind. In that small promise, wisdom plants its seed. To be wise in old age is to be a living mirror for others, not by preaching, but by the way you walk, calm, attentive, kind. Your life then becomes a teaching simply by being itself. This is the highest gift the ripened heart can offer, not a sermon, but a steady presence that reassures the young and comforts the weary. So, as you move through the autumn of life, consider this. The years have not taken from you. They have given you material to transform. Your sorrow, your joy, your mistakes, and your endurance are the compost of wisdom. Tend them with care, and the harvest will be a quiet, luminous way of being, one that embraces the world with openness and teaches by example. As we close this reflection, remember, aging is not a fading, it is a flowering. Walk gently now with the knowledge that your years have made you tender and wise. Let each breath remind you, you are not less for having aged, but more, richer in compassion, patient in presence, luminous in small kindnesses. Hold regrets lightly, honor your scars, and let your life teach by quiet example. In tending your own heart, you tend the world. Rest in the simple truth that your story matters. May you find gentle peace always. If this video helped you, subscribe for more gentle teachings. Share with someone who needs comfort, and leave a short note below. Your voice matters.